So this is my vow. All gods will die.
I have come to enlighten you to the great darkness. I will bathe in your fear.
The 21st century really is a remarkable era, isn't it? Superheroes have started to become a saturated market with a massive rise in popularity for anti-heroes and supervillains. I guess the genre really did long enough to see itself become what Harvey Dent prophesied.
Yourself become the villain.
So I'm back with volume 2 of my top 25 badass supervillain scenes in the movies.
يا عم البلياتشو مالك انت بالكلام ده مضغوط.
We're kicking things off with a supervillain who actually does a heroic thing, albeit a bit murderously actually. Apocalypse is a mutant who doesn't need any introduction. Bro's literally named after the end of times. Of course, that means the man can be overpowered beyond imagination, and we get a fair glimpse of that in this scene. Look, I'd normally say that Storm is a badass queen who doesn't need anyone to save her, but that's only when she's played by the boss girl Halle Berry. In this case, Apocalypse was very much needed to help her out, and the way he does so is absolutely brutal. I really like the idea of using sand to decapitate people, even though it might be a little bit too extreme. Also, I want to shout out the way he scared that final goon so much that he literally walked into a wall. Now that's the kind of authority that makes you an alpha villain.
Whoever you are, don't try to stop me from killing these men.
Yes, there's something wrong with me. I was stabbed, you extraordinary phallus!
He doesn't know any better. We shall do whatever you require, my liege.
You knew of 89P13's existence for years without alerting me. That's not what I require!
James Gunn managed to do justice to the franchise he built from scratch, and a lot of the credit must go to characters like the High Evolutionary and Adam Warlock. As it turns out, this entry involves the both of them in a brief yet dramatic confrontation. Once again, this is a scene where there are no heroes involved, and I guess that's why it makes such an eerie impact. I mean, Adam Warlock is supposed to be this unstoppable force of nature, but here he's reduced to a mere wimp with just one power move. The High Evolutionary is definitely someone you can't take lightly, but damn, I don't think anyone in the theaters was expecting that much dominance.
Or I will destroy your entire civilization, as is my right as your maker. Do you understand?
I would have put this entry much higher up the list, but then I remembered that Bro was using a platform to look taller than the High Priestess. But then again, Elizabeth Debicki stands at a staggering 6'3", so it's understandable from that perspective.
All of the good and none of the bad.
I don't need another speech by some impotent whack job whose mother didn't love him, rationalizing why he needs to conquer the universe.
I'm not trying to conquer the universe. I'm perfecting it.
I did just mention her, so here she is in one of those scenes where a tiny little woman is dominating men twice her size thanks to some neat camera tricks and kind stuntmen. Actually, you know what? I don't care, because it's Miss Barbie herself, Margot Robbie. Well, it's technically Harley Quinn, but at this point they're all one and the same, aren't they? I wasn't kidding when I mentioned the camera tricks. This fight scene works really well because of the way it's been shot. The sound effects add a lot more drama to the breaking of bones and smashing of faces, but the standout here is obviously Harley Quinn herself, who's going absolutely bonkers with her baseball bat. The final smack with the foe was also a nice little touch to end the sequence. I guess you can never go wrong when you sprinkle a dose of badass on a psychotic clown lover.
What?
I said, sit your skinny ass down, you dumb slut.
Okay.
You broke my fucking legs!
Oh, boo-hoo.
Now these guys are the creepiest villains I've seen in the X-Men franchise, and I'm sure you might agree as well. The Sentinels aren't just ridiculously overpowered, they can freaking adapt to any possible opponent, and that's what made this opening fight scene such a big deal. Nobody, I mean nobody, was expecting to see guys like Colossus and Iceman be dominated and destroyed in such a brutal fashion. And that's just naming a couple of the victims there. The worst part is that these robot assassins don't even have a soul or the capacity to speak. It just makes you feel very uncomfortable. Having said that, there's no doubt in the fact that the mutants are no match for such beings, so I'm glad Magneto managed to get rid of them in the past itself. To be honest with you, I'm still not sold on Kang as a Thanos-level villain in this new MCU phase, but he does have his moments, and this one in particular stood out as the most badass scene from Quantumania. The mad villain not only attacks an entire civilization, bro ended up fighting the Ant-Man fam and winning too. Well, at least in this particular sequence anyway. It's not like anyone was pulling their punches either. Scott, Hope and Cassie gave it their all, using every size possible to beat Kang, and they still failed. What I found particularly alpha about him here was when he proclaimed his status and mocked Scott Lang for only being able to talk to ants. Not sure if Paul Rudd appreciates that kind of talk, especially considering the movie didn't even turn a profit at the box office.
How many Avengers I've killed, and you think you can beat me? I am Kang! You talk to ants.
I've a condition. I'll tell you what you have, you asshole. Stay down, freak!
Joaquin Phoenix is on a roll right now, yeah? He is, isn't he? After Beau is Afraid, the promotions are already out for Ridley Scott's Napoleon, and I'm sure our man's going to deliver a stellar performance just like the one he gave us in 2019's Joker. I think his character arc can be described in that subway scene where he shoots down those three bullies. Like, this is a guy who's been haunted and abused by society his whole life, and he finally gets a chance to unleash all that rage with the pulling of a trigger. To see Arthur shift his tone from the victim to the culprit was a touch of class that truly captured what it's like to be in his shoes. Look, I know that killing is bad, but those dudes had it coming, right? Why on earth would you mess with a laughing clown inside a subway? Have you not seen those prank videos on YouTube? Just because somebody's blinded by rage doesn't mean he's literally blind. Tori should have thought about that when she tried to get rid of her own son towards the end of Brightburn. Yeah, fine, he's adopted, but still, Superman turned out to be an angel, didn't he? It all boils down to parenting skills. Elizabeth Banks needs to work on hers. To be fair, I'll admit the emotional manipulation was a nice tactic, but she gave herself away a bit too early.
I know there is good inside you.
And what we saw after that was seriously brutal. There was a nice bit of symbolism here, with Brandon letting go of his mom, also signalling him letting go of his last shred of humanity. It's tragic, but at the same time, it's really badass, because it shows how the character has finally accepted himself as a lone wolf. Maybe Homelander should try adopting him. I'm sure they'll have a lot in common.
Pass the ball if you're man enough to throw me out of this room. Let me spoil it for you.
You know, it's one thing to be a normal, boring villain, and a whole other thing to add a touch of philosophy, even when you're ending lives. Take Dr. Sivana, for example. Bro actually threw his own brother out of a skyscraper just to prove a point. And if that wasn't bad enough, he went on to summon the 7 deadly sins as monsters to take care of his dad's business associates. See, this is how you can at least make your murders look artistic, if not anything else. The CGI isn't the best in the world, but it still looks a lot better than the stuff we're getting nowadays, and the monsters look scary enough to establish Savannah as a grade A final boss. He even saved the best for last when he got greed to end his own father. I guess this man must have been a huge fan of Game of Thrones.
You don't want to hurt a kid, do you?
There we are. Put your hands over your heads. Now.
Gotta press your luck, Charles.
I don't think I can stop them all.
Let me take you back a couple of decades to the year 2000 when things were much simpler. The new millennium had just started, the 90s kids started settling into their own vibe, and most importantly, the X-Men finally got a live-action movie. I can't explain how thrilled I was to watch this film, and believe it or not, I instantly liked Magneto because of his epic attitude.
You Homo sapiens and your guns.
Can you imagine what it must have been like to win an argument with a guy whose power is literally reading minds? I can't relate, but Eric sure can, as he totally humiliates Charles Xavier, even with him controlling Sabretooth. While I do love the scenes and have praised it multiple times, I still want to ask Professor X something. Wouldn't it have been easier to just have Sabretooth take off Magneto's helmet rather than choking him? I guess this lack of common sense might have also rubbed off on Reed Richards. It's making sense now, isn't it?
You must be Wolverine. That remarkable metal doesn't run through your entire body, does it?
Wakanda Forever was never going to match the OG film, because let's face it, it's not a Black Panther movie if you don't have the actual Black Panther. Sorry Shuri, no shade, but you know it's true. What I did appreciate on the other hand was the introduction of Namor as the primary villain, because he definitely had the strength to earn that honour. Yeah, I know he's just a diverse version of Aquaman, but that doesn't mean he can't hold his own. To be honest, it was crazy to see Namor smack M'Baku away as if he was Steve Rogers before the Super Soldier Serum. The demolition of the jets and the merciless final attack also worked in his favour because it established him as someone to be feared, even by the Wakandans.
You will join us against the surface world, or I will wash Wakanda from the face of the earth.
Bury your dad. Mourn your losses.
Never mix business with pleasure, or even your personal life. But unfortunately for Ned, Victor Von Doom isn't the type to draw the necessary boundaries. But I'd also be pissed off if I was going to be shunned out of something I was working so hard towards, but to blast a jolt of electricity through someone's chest is a sign of overreacting if you ask me. Dr. Doom has always been one of those supervillains who gives you the chills, but in this case, I guess he gave Ned the sparks, eh? I can help myself there, sorry. Alright? Anyway, why is it that guys like Ned always get the raw end of the bargain? He should have known Victor was going to take it personally.
Nothing personal, Ned.
Like the man said, what doesn't kill you just makes me stronger.
I know the MCU had a huge villain problem in the beginning of the Infinity Saga, but I don't think people could appreciate Ultron until much later.
I'm on mission.
What mission?
Peace in our time.
He was tenacious, calculative, and had immense potential to become an epic character. There's a reason the What If series had him as such an important supervillain. In Age of Ultron, there's this one scene that I just can't get out of my mind.
I was meant to be beautiful. The world would have looked to the sky and seen hope, seen mercy. Instead, they'll look up in horror because of you.
It's when he gives Black Widow a speech, only to smash himself to pieces via his new vibranium suit. This moment of instant rebirth looked really epic and badass. It might have even motivated The Weeknd to do the same for his Starboy video. Man, James Spader is such an amazing actor. I really wish they bring him back via some multiverse hack.
Do you see the beauty of it? The inevitability. You rise, only to fall. When the dust settles, the only thing living in this world will be metal.
You will not like your welcome.
I think I will.
We'll maintain that the Snyder Cut is way better than the theatrical release of the Justice League, but I do need to give credit where it's due, and in this case, it's going to Steppenwolf for blatantly stealing the mother box from the Amazon warriors. Bro took on an entire army of overpowered women, but kept his Giga Chat energy at maximum level and won.
You will love me.
Not to say that I was rooting for this dude, but he did flex his powers and I gotta appreciate that. Also, the part where he smashes his axe to the ground definitely drew some similarities to Thor's Wakanda entrance in Infinity War. Considering that film came out a year after this, makes me wonder if the Russo brothers took some inspiration from this one.
I have come to enlighten you to the great darkness. I will bathe in your fear.
Don't you just hate it when your idols reveal their true colours? Yeah, that's exactly what happens here between Gorr and Rapu. To see Christian Bale shift from timid follower to a Marvel version of Patrick Bateman totally worked for me as an audience member, and I genuinely enjoyed his performance in an otherwise lackluster film.
He thinks there's an eternal reward!
No, sorry. There's no eternal reward for you, dog!
I'd normally never say something like this, but Rapu did have it coming. I mean, why on earth would you ridicule your own follower, especially after he lost his own daughter?
You are no god. I renounce you.
I mean, he calls himself a god, but he's pretty much a jerk to everyone, including his own followers. The Necromancer sword fusing with Gorr was another moment I want to highlight, because it marks a clear difference between the man that was and the god butcher that is.
Feels like a promise. So this is my vow. All gods will die.
Sometimes you don't need to show off your super strength or your laser beams to be a certified badass, regardless of your morals. With the Riddler, it's his calculative approach that makes him such a standout against the likes of a superhero like Batman. The way he toys with Bruce Wayne using Coulson is a perfect example of this.
It can be cruel, poetic, or blind, but when it's denied, it's violence you may find.
The answer's justice.
Justice?
If crashing the funeral wasn't enough, Bro managed to make arrangements for another one as well. Of course, there's a long, intense scene before that where Paul Dano reminds us why he's such a great actor. The appeal of this sequence, however, lies in how the Riddler gets Coulson to confess to his sins before blowing him up in ice-cold fashion. With the freaking Batman also being unable to do anything at that moment, it just goes on to validate the Riddler as a terrifying opponent, and that's exactly why he makes it to my top 10.
If you think you can stop what's coming, what have you done? What have you done?
There aren't aren't many villains in cinematic history who can boast the kind of legacy that Voldemort possesses. He was feared and respected all the way throughout the Harry Potter franchise, and frankly speaking, he deserved it. One particular scene that showcases his true potential is when he faces off against Dumbledore in the Order of the Phoenix. It's an epic battle that makes Harry Potter himself look like a side character, but I gotta say, Voldemort was making Dumbledore sweat with all the moves he was pulling out. Bro literally birthed a snake dragon by breathing fire, and if that wasn't badass enough, he also made it rain, but with glass shards. I'm still astonished to see that this film was released all the way back in 2007. I mean, just look at those visual effects. Where on earth did we go wrong, guys?
You're a fool, Harry Potter. And you will lose everything.
I'm disappointed in you, Adrian. I'm very disappointed.
People really like to worship gods, but the worst possible personality for a human to have is that of a god complex. Take Dr. Manhattan for example. Bro was just a simp in the beginning, but went on to become the most powerful and dangerous being in the universe. You could even say the movie could progress only because he allowed it to happen. Anyway, his showdown against Ozymandias was brief but highly impactful, and it's not because of his power display.
Reassembling myself was the first trick I learned. It didn't kill Osterman. Did you really think it would kill me?
The dialogue writing in Watchmen was definitely one of the highlights, and we see it in full flow when Dr. Manhattan openly mocks Ozymandias for believing he could end him. I mean, the dude blatantly compared the smartest man in the world to a termite. How are you supposed to recover from that?
They claim their labors are to build a heaven, yet their heaven is populated with horrors. It's too late. Always has been. Always will be. Too late.
Przestań, Nina! Przestań! Nie!
I covered the older Magneto earlier, now it's time to check out the younger one. It feels a bit strange that Sir Ian McKellen's version is sassy and full of vigour, whereas Michael Fassbender's version is so stoic and solemn. Can't really blame him though, can you? Poor guy lost his wife and daughter to a stupid mistake by a soldier. Of course he was going to lose his mind. What really stood out to me in this scene was the fact that Eric used his own daughter's necklace to take the lives of the soldiers who were responsible for her demise. It's an emotionally charged sequence, backed by a brilliant performance by Fassbender, and it gives us a lot of insight into why Magneto turned out to be the way he is.
Is this what you want from me? Is this what I am? Is this what I am?
I know he's been made out to be a very annoying character in the MCU films, but Bucky's been given the raw end of the stick way too many times. It's not even like he wants to be evil, but he's forced into it against his own will. Having said that, he becomes a lot more lethal when he gives in to the dark side. I mean, take this scene for example. Bro went through an entire team of Avengers before he was finally subdued by Black Panther. Kinda makes you wonder what kind of brainwashing camp he had to endure. Even then, it's no easy feat to dominate people like Falcon, Captain America, Sharon Carter, Black Widow, and even Iron Man. Well, technically it was Tony Stark without his suit, but that's still gotta count for something, right?
Kneel before me and rise into the ranks of my great conquest.
Fine.
If If you happen to be the goddess of death, your actions need to speak louder than words.
It's not possible.
Darling, you have no idea what's possible.
Hela didn't disappoint in that department because she was an endless supply of weapons with commendable resistance. The way she conquered the entire Legion of Asgard without even breaking a sweat is testament to that. That whole sequence was just a constant flow of domination, and not even once did we see Hela flinch. You know, my only complaint about her character is that her power level is left somewhat ambiguous. Yeah, sure, she can take lightning blasts and conquer planets, but we never actually saw her exerting herself until she actually had to face off against Surtur. It just goes on to show how badass of a villain she truly is.
To be honest, I expected more. So simple. Even a blind man could see it. Ooh. Now you remind me of Dad.
Okay, let me just clarify that this scene only exists because Star-Lord is an idiot. Now that we've got that out the way, let's focus on how badass Thanos was for being able to defeat the Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and freaking Iron Man as well. Yes, the Sorcerer Supreme did give him a good fight, but at the end of the day, the Mad Titan was just a bit too much for him to handle. And yes, we all love Iron Man for making Thanos bleed, but the way he got owned after that was just a bit too humiliating. Bro really woke up and chose violence that day, or night. It's kind of hard to tell on a foreign planet, isn't it? Oh yeah, let's not forget the part where he throws a freaking moon at Tony just out of spite.
I'm a survivor.
Who wants to murder trillions?
With all 6 stones, I could simply snap my fingers. They would all cease to exist. I call that mercy. I finally rest and watch the sunrise on a grateful universe. The hardest choices require the strongest wills.
Hope you liked the video, so please subscribe to my channel. In the meantime, here's another video that I know you're going to enjoy.